that we carry, but I'm not going to say that this time. So this is not new. This is an anniversary edition, but I'm just going to go over the features. This has a beautiful, whoops, I went too fast, 7-inch color touch screen. And it has these two little knobs. This is not a life-changing feature maybe, but you can go a click at a time for more precision for your stitch width and length. I mean, you can still hit the little plus and minus. And because I move my camera so fast, you can't see it, but the stitches here on the side, like if I had a zigzag, as you turn the width, you can see the stitch actually change as you change it. And also, in my fast camera, there's a little QR code on every stitch screen. And you can use, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but you can use your phone to take a picture of that QR code, just like we've gotten used to at restaurants, right? The menus. Zap the QR code with this app, and it'll take you to screens that tell you more information about how to use that stitch for certain projects. Like if you had a blind hem up there, you've never done a blind hem, you can use that feature, and it'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to do things that you maybe haven't normally done, which is really nice. It helps take people out of their comfort zone on what they've always done. Brighter space. You'll hear this in almost every slide. No, every slide I think that I have, that there's new brighter space on sewing machines. I have had 3, feel sorry for me sometime later today, I've had 3 eye surgeries since March. And what I have discovered is that when your sight is not so great, light helps, right? So even without my eye surgeries, I need glasses, and more light helps. And the beautiful thing about this is they're at an angle, they're LED lights, and it really helps prevent shadows. So, because sometimes you put a light behind your sewing machine, you still get a weird shadow, and it kind of is frustrating. So this doesn't have that issue. Very large space, very bright space. Has a wide extension table with a drawer. I don't recommend putting sewing accessories in the drawer. It's like when they open it, this little area right here, you can stack Oreos side by side in there. And then on the back side is long. You can put red vines, and in the front, an entire package of Skittles will fit in the front compartment of the drawer. So our service guys are going to be calling me saying, Rob, we've had a rash of M7s coming with Skittles inside the machine. Do you know what that's all about? And I'll be like, I have no idea. No idea at all. This has a different kind of motor in it, and I'm going to try to explain this as best I can. I don't like to get into the weeds with mechanics too much. It's not that interesting sometimes, but whoops. Come on, Rob. You can do it. My video's not playing. Anyways, this will power through 9 pieces of denim. That's actually kind of a lie. It's 16 layers of denim that you can do. This video that's supposed to play had 9. This has a different kind of motor. Most electronic motors or electric motors in sewing machines, except for the 2 that Janome has in their line, everybody else has 2 carbon brushes that go around a commutator on a motor, and it conducts electricity through there. If you look at it, you can see little blue arcs once in a while going through there. It creates more heat. Those actually over time kind of slowly grind down and make the motor more and more inefficient if you don't clean that carbon brush dust off the motor. And it's just the traditional motor everybody's had, but Janome's thought outside the box, and they put a DC brushless motor in there. It uses magnets and magic, because I don't really know how it works. So anything I don't know how it works is magic, right? So what happens, it gives you, and a DC means direct current. Have you ever had a sewing machine where you step on the gas and it goes, and then it whips out a bunch of stitches? You don't have great speed control. This has a DC brushless motor. You can go a stitch at a time very easily. It's very powerful. And you'll also hear me say a lot during these presentations, if it's quiet, that usually means it's a very high quality machine. If you sew on one of these at break, or hear it sew at break, they are just quiet. They're very smooth, great speed control, and they're very powerful when it comes to the piercing power. Look at that towel. Towel. That's not a towel. Look at that towel. This also has a ball bearing system, and most sewing machines have a metal shaft that goes across the top of the sewing machine. And then there's like a sleeve bushing with some lubrication, and that's the main shaft. And so you can't make a machine with that kind of setup go fast. As fast. This machine will go 1,300 stitches per minute. It's the industry's fastest. And it's because it has a ball bearing in the main shaft up here. It makes it also a lot quieter. You can go through heavier fabrics. It's just everything is just gooder.
It's more gooder.
Way gooder. This has patented technology that will spoil you. Has the electronic AccuFeed Flex. It's a digitally controlled feeding system. It feeds the top and the bottom. And I always like to point out, because I'll talk to people, they'll be like, "Hey, I have a 1965 Singer Touch and Swear. I have that walking foot on there." But what they have is a clamp-on walking foot. And if you ever take one of those and actuate the lever, it just goes like this. It doesn't actually know what the heck's going on, right? It just does. It's better than nothing because it puts a little pressure on the fabric. You're not really supposed to reverse with them or even zigzag with them. They're really just made, or they call them a plaid matcher also. But this is part of the machine, and it'll feed the top and the bottom at the same time. And if I go to like a really long straight stitch, it takes a bigger jump forward. If I do a straight stretch stitch that goes back and forth, it just sits there and goes back and forth along in conjunction with the bottom feed dogs, if that makes sense.
And this is really nice when you're working with weird materials or like thick bags. So I really like this sample because it has some pleather on it and you can feel all of the layers through here, especially around the straps.
This has a bobbin lever. I never knew what this was for. I just thought it was part of the really complicated mechanism under the needle plate. Most sewing machines, they rely, your top thread and your bottom thread come down. It kind of relies on the backward motion to the next stitch to kind of pull and tie that knot properly and secure it. And so what happens is you've got a human being guiding fabric, which could be forcing it, or the machine could not be gripping the fabric right and not feeding it well. So your stitches won't always be really great. This little lever gives a little pop as it feeds, right? So it helps tie that knot and make it more consistent. So that's the other thing. Besides being super quiet, if you go and look at the M7 and sew on it, the stitch quality is beautiful on it. It's a very, very, very nice stitch quality on this machine. It has a snag-free fabric slide is what I call it. So when you put your presser foot up, the feed dogs automatically drop down for you. So especially if you're doing something thicker or a sheer fabric that you don't want to snag on the feed dogs as you slide it under, you can put it under there, put your foot down, and once your foot goes down, the feed dogs go up for you automatically. So it really gives you a little bit more space to get them in without snagging. It has a stress-free needle plate removal and attachment system. It has a very strong magnet, so you push a button and the needle plate pops up for you. You replace it with whatever needle plate you're using, and it goes back down and is held in place. So they expect you to change the needle plates. Needle plates are notoriously difficult to get off, right, when you need to change them. Because of screws, usually you don't do it very often, and they kind of seize up. People bring their machines in all the time and to have us help them to get the needle plates out. And, you can buy little tiny screwdrivers, but you can't get enough torque on them to really turn hard. So it's really nice that they did this because it comes with your standard zigzag needle plate, but it also comes with a straight stitch piecing plate if you're quilting. But it also has a professional plate with the P-foot is what they call it. I never knew this either. I've just learned so much weird stuff over the years. If you go back like 10 years and buy a Japanese-made electronic machine, you turn it on, the needle would go boop, and it would just stop in the left needle position. And you'd have to physically select center straight stitch if you wanted your regular center straight stitch. I always wondered why that was, but I was afraid to ask. So what it means is, the reason they do that is your best straight stitch quality and performance is in the left needle position with a top load bobbin, if that makes sense. So that's why they did that. So Janome has a plate called the P plate. You put it on, the hole is all the way to the left, this straight stitch plate, and then you put this P-foot on that also has a hole on the left side. So you would use that if you're doing like leather, faux fabrics that are tricky. We also have experimented with that sequin fabric type stuff that's kind of tricky. Does a beautiful job with anything like that. 400 built-in stitches, including 14 buttonholes and 5 fonts. I love this feature. This is unique to Janome. It's called hand stitch style, and you can take quilting stitches like, your feather stitch, a blanket stitch, and you hit this button and it messes up the stitch just enough to make it look like a human being did it. That's what's kind of cool, right? So, and when we first started doing this, I had like this light bulb go off that, and we tested it, so it's not an issue, but I was like, what if someone checks in an M7 for service because their stitches look funky, right? We need to check to see if this button is pushed on there, but I guess when you turn the machine off and back on, it goes back to normal, right? So now Now they say more natural and casual is what they call that. I say it messes it up just a little bit. And again, there's that QR code at the bottom. Zap it with your phone, gives you more ideas of what in the world, what buttons you're pushing here. Has a quilt block advisor, and you'll notice again that QR code every time they poke that button changes a little bit. This is where my slide where I talk about it has that PC application pack in the box, so you can. There are some apps that come with this, like to help, and this is right on the screen actually of the machine, that you can type in your circle, 5 circles, and it's 7 inches wide, and it tells you how many pieces you need and tells you everything you need to know about making that quilt block. And they have different kinds. They have 9-patch, mosaic, log cabin, grandma's garden. And this is something that's really cool. This is kind of the same thing. Right on your screen, if you've never done a rolled hem, you can poke that button, and it helps you know how to do certain functions within the machine without having to go somewhere if you don't need to, like onto your phone. And this is interesting. We checked this. They spell sequin wrong on this machine. So if you're watching at Janome, can you fix this with an update? Because it says sequine. It's not spelled right. Maybe that's like a, I don't know. Is that a different spelling? I won't go off track. But anyway, so if you've never done ribbons and sequines, you can poke that, and it'll give you information about how to do different things. It takes